Okay, welcome everyone to Deep Dive with DUI. It's our first one for 2022, so hopefully everyone had a good, I guess, December, January. I know we took some time off ourselves. And just as an FYI for everybody that DUI does shut down for 2 weeks during the holiday season, give some of our staff some breaks, and some of us go and travel and go dive and stuff like that. But we're back busy working on everybody's dry suits and getting stuff ready. And now it's to let you guys know what's going on with 2022. So first of all, welcome everybody. My name is Jack Durr. I'm one of the account managers at DUI. I also work in the marketing area. So if you are online, you usually see me with some stuff. I've got this screen today with the presentation. If this is best viewed in speaker view, so if you are in the gallery view, it's it's easier to watch all the stuff that's going on as far as like from a presentation point of view in speaker view. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please type them in the chat area on Zoom or in the comments area in Facebook. This is streaming live on Facebook at the same time, which will be immediately available to rewatch once this is done. At some point in time, we will open this up so everyone can ask questions directly. You don't have to type it into the chat window. And when we do, I just ask that if you're not participating in the chat, just to mute your microphone so we don't get a lot of background noise. So with that, I'm going to start sharing my screen. So hang on a second here. So it's a little weird not having an actual guest on this month. So in this case, the guests this month are all of you, because I know a lot of people are here for the dive, the Drysuit raffle or drawing for the DUI professionals. Anyways, starting off. Okay, so yep, my name's Jack. I dive. I've been with DUI since 2016. Pretty actively diving. I literally dove last Tuesday and the weekend before in Catalina. So if you guys are in colder climates, get out there and dive still somehow. Even if it's in the wintertime, you have dry suits, go ice diving, which I still haven't done, which is crazy. So let's get on with what we have to show today. So we were at DEMA and we had some new stuff that we announced at DEMA. Not everybody was able to make it because of, different travel restrictions. A lot of people from outside the US weren't able to travel there. So it's a smaller show this year. DUI did have some new stuff to show, and I'm going to kind of do a little show and tell with some of the stuff. So we have some, I guess, merchandise that you guys can now use. And some of this merchandise, I just want to point out, which is hard to see on the screen, is actually available when you purchase some of the added packages on the premium suits. So for example, the changing mat. Now, if you order a deluxe package, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the different packages. This is on my small screen. You're not going to be able to see this anyways if I stop sharing, because it's kind of like bright white. But you have the option of adding different packages. We've always had the sport, deluxe package, and then there's the tech packages. If you, for example, ordered a deluxe package, which is 2 pockets with knee pads, it also comes with a changing mat. So what does that changing mat look like? Sorry, I'm going to get up and walk back and forth quite a bit today at the beginning. And that is a changing mat. This is the prototype. The actual size is actually bigger than this, but it's going to be 60 inches wide by, I should have this memorized by now, by 36 by 60 inches. And this is made out of a vinyl. So this is part of the package that comes with it. So you can use it as a changing mat. It even has grommets on it. So if you want to fly it as a flag or use it for shade, this is something that's coming with the deluxe package. Of course, you can always order these on its own. So that's one of the options. So some other stuff that we have is, if you weren't at DEMA, we did announce that we have a whole new line of undergarments. But at the same time, we're working with this, trying to get stuff out there for you guys. One of the things that's coming out is a new DUI jacket with the fancy plastic tag. I accidentally broke off the little fancy hang tag that we had. But if you see this jacket, I know it's a DUI logo jacket, but what's nice about this is actually water repellent. So not waterproof, but if you're using this as an after jacket or before jacket, water splashes on you, this will bounce off. So this will be available coming up in March timeframe. So you can order that online or through the DUI dive shops, which we hope to have them stocking tons of these, by the way. The next item is what I'm wearing. We have a DUI t-shirt this year. We're going to actively start adding some of these items to our line. Come out with some shirts every year. So you can, because we used to have a lot more stuff like that. We're going to start coming out with those again. This is still in plastic. That's what you hear, the crinkling sound, which is a DUI beanie. I guess I could take it out. I left it in the plastic because I didn't want to like put it on, but here you can see this a little better. So we're just adding some extra options like that. So if you want to represent DUI that way. With that, we also have, which I don't have right now, is we actually have a pair of gloves. So for those of you who have been using our zip gloves and the yellow liner starting to wear out, we have an upgraded undergarment, I guess, glove that you can purchase. It's an add-on that you can upgrade your gloves with the yellow that don't have the, well, they have the yellow glove. You can add this because it's a slightly warmer glove that you can, or fleece glove that you can add to this zip glove. Okay, spit that one out. So when I was talking about the order forms, there is a whole new order form that's coming out for 2022 with all these different options. And one of the interesting, important things that everyone should know is we now, with the new undergarments, not the existing ones, the new ones are all coming out in that March, April timeframe, is we've always had undergarments that you can order. Now you can actually get them bundled back in there and get a discount on them. So we're trying to get this as a working system. And then if you haven't seen these undergarments at DEMA, this is the new Duotherm 2.0. So it's, to describe the color, it's more of a charcoal color. The material is actually slicker. So if you're putting this on underneath one of the dry suits, the undergarment material is not going to bind as much inside the dry suit. It's going to add a little more, there's less surface friction. With this also has some of that water repellent capabilities that we had with the jacket. And it also has some wicking stuff built into it. I know it kind of looks a lot like our existing line, but we've added some different, I guess, hidden improvements and upgrades to different parts of it. So there's going to be the dual, the 300 undergarment. And with that, there's going to be a women's version. The color is different, as you can see from the men's. Men's will have the silver logo. And the women's will have the fuchsia color logo. These will also be available in special sizing, so you can actually get them custom made for you, besides the standard stock sizes that we've had all along. Now, the thing that I really promote as far as like undergarments go is the option of layering. So one of the things that I always recommend is you have a base layer that creates wicking. One of the undergarments I wear all the time would be the 150. So there's a 150 version of this. Then a lot of times I will add a vest. So using these in combination with each other, you can vary your temperatures, because people ask, what's the best undergarment for, water temperatures of 50 degrees? And the first thing I respond back with is, how cold do you get? Because every person is different. So some people here would be wearing the 150. Then you turn around and someone's wearing the XM 450, thicker undergarments. All these undergarments are going to be available in the tops, bottoms, and also with the sock. This is the prototype sock, sorry. But there will be a whole line of these. And if you are looking for undergarments, they're going to be new. They're coming out in March or April, somewhere in that time frame. Right now, with anything that's going on with getting stuff delivered, it's been kind of shaky in the whole dive industry. So just be aware that's what it is right now. Okay, moving back to my screen. So we covered those kinds of things. Some interesting things about DUI in general that you may or may not know. DUI has moved its front offices into another building just up the street from the factory itself. And you've all seen pictures of, at some point in time, says, through these doors walk some of the greatest divers in the world. Well, to carry on that tradition, we've added some of the best divers in the world have left their mark at DUI. Just to make it a little bit different spin on this, I kind of borrowed this from a dive shop in Mexico that had a board with different lines on it, so you could add your line marker. So if you're by DUI, please come in and sign a marker, leave it, or make a custom one. As you can see, there's a few people left their custom markers on here. Bring in your line marker and add it to the DUI board. Okay, switching over. Let me see. Oh, do the bottoms have loops for the feet? Yes, all of them have the stirrups on there. They all have the thicker 2-inch stirrup material at the bottom. And the socks are all one thickness right now. They're all the 300 thickness weight. Okay. Hang on, read a question here. Would the new gloves also be available on the older zip systems? So for example, I'm going to go over this in just a second, and I'll answer that question about the zip seals. And that's kind of like my two-part how-to, because we get a lot of questions on things that are, I guess, been around, and people kind of get confused about certain things. And I want to go over a couple things about the rock boots and something about the zip seals and how to trim them, or what method I use to trim them, because everyone, will do this slightly different. I'll switch back to the screen. So I brought in a rock boot. I added white laces to this because I figured that if I left it as the standard black laces that come with the rock boot, you wouldn't be able to see what's going on. When you get this rock boot, one of the things to be aware of is it has different items on here that you will need. This is called a barrel lock. This is how the laces stay tight. And then in combination with the lace management system, I guess we'd call that, you will be able to keep this tight. One of the things you got to be careful of in general is a lot of people have been pulling too tight on these, and actually ripping some of the eyelets. Not saying it's not durable, but I'm just saying if you're going that tight, you might need to go to a smaller rock boot. So when you get this rock boot, you'll see at the end of the shoelace that comes with it, there's a piece of Velcro. This Velcro is actually how we manage the shoelace. A lot of times you'll see people coming out of the water and they have their shoelaces dangling around. The method of how this works is, I'm going to angle this down a little bit so I'm not having to hold this up above my head constantly, is after you pull this lace tight, then you would wrap this around, go underneath one side to do the barrel lock. So the barrel locks down. Then I wrap around your ankle. Imagine that you have this on your foot. Goes underneath the tab in the back. This tab is not meant like to be a shoehorn. This is actually just to hold the Velcro. So if you're again pulling this on, and now it's the flip side, if the rock boot's too tight and you can't get it on, you may want to look at a larger size. This goes all the way around, goes underneath the barrel lock, comes back around to the front. Now what I do is, at this point, I will create a knot just in front of the Velcro tab on the back. And notice that I actually remove the Velcro piece first. Okay, so it's approximately like that. Now I take the piece of Velcro, which has a little hole in there. And I run it through one side of the lace. And then I will tie another knot directly after that. Some people will, if this was an actual rock boost lace, you'd still have another 6 inches or so. Some people will trim this off at this point. Others will leave it on there and then still tuck it in their boot. But now if you can see, once this is wrapped all the way around, you then take this piece of Velcro, push this straight down. Then the flap comes over the top. Now your laces will not come off while you're diving. And why the lace is so long is so you can actually splay the boot wide open when you're done by pulling the barrel lock, pulling this wide open. If you notice on this, this will open up wider than most normal boots. That's so you can get in and out of this with your Drysuit socks and all the thick undergarment socks that you have. So hopefully that has answered some questions on how this little Velcro tab works for managing the laces. Next up is the zip seals. So there's been a question about Generation 1 and Generation 2 zip seals for a while now. The first one I'd like to talk about is the neck seal, because that's the one where it actually makes a difference for your suit. So obviously Generation 1 came out first. That's the name, Generation 1. Generation 1 zip seals, if you were to look at this, it will have a set of rings, grooves, locking grooves. And if you flip that over, there'll be another set of locking grooves on the other side. So some of us older divers that are familiar with vinyl records, imagine this is like a vinyl record. It has grooves on both sides. This is Generation 1. So Generation 1 latex neck seals will work with the Generation 1 zip ring on your Drysuit. Also, it is available in silicone. The silicone, because it has the double locking, the top and bottom, we're able to make this in silicone. Silicone's a much softer material than what this latex seal is made out of. Generation 2, now the cone in general looks approximately the same. Get these on. I'm not used to working backwards and forwards. Anyways, they're approximately the same. The difference between the two, besides the locking mechanism, is The generation 2 is actually larger in diameter at the base. This allows people with larger heads, or if you have like a hair bun or a lot stuff like that. The generation 2 is easier to put on over your head. And the way you can tell which one's generation 2 by looking at the locking mechanism, there's only one set of locking rings, and they're kind of located on the inside. So if you're looking at this straight down and you flip this edge, you can see that the locking rings are on the underneath side. There is a little trick on how to actually put these on your suit faster without making your hands super, super tired. And I will do that on another session in the future, so you can see some little tricks of the trade, so to speak, and how to get these changed out faster. Down in the factory, you'd be amazed how fast people can put these in, but yet, you know, people have had these for a long time. They go and do this once a year, they will struggle with it for a while. So one of the questions came up also about just a little while ago about the zip gloves. I do have a slide for that. I'm going to share my screen again. So with your wrist rings, there is a generation and generation 2 wrist zip ring. All the current products right now with the zip gloves, silicone, latex, all the different variations work with the generation 2 wrist ring on the Drysuit. There are instances where we don't recommend putting silicone wrist seals on a generation 1 wrist ring. And how do you tell the difference between the two? So on the left, this is a generation 2 wrist ring. If you were to look at this on the end of your Drysuit and you look at the cuffing area, you'll see that it's actually a smooth area. See where where it says G2 in red? That's smooth. There's no flashing line. If you see this flashing line, that is a generation 1 wrist seal. If you have the generation 1 wrist seal, we recommend that you can use any of the latex wrist seals or the zip gloves, but we don't recommend putting the silicone on there. Then the last question I had, which was stacking all these together. How do you cut these? Now, there's a lot of different methods. Some people will use, they'll find a tank or a bottle of some sort, and they will push this over it, and then they will use a razor blade and cut, which is a perfectly valid method. I prefer to use scissors to cut this. One of the things that is really important when you're doing this is to do a couple things. One, measure your neck dimensions. And the measurement for this, if you're looking at a guy's neck where you have your Adam's apple, you want to kind of measure just below that like you're wearing a tie. It's not up high like this, it's down lower. You measure that diameter. And then once you measure that diameter, if you looked at the manual for, preloading that, for the zip seals, you'll actually have the measurements in there. So if you look on here and you see that your measurement is let's say a 17-inch neck measurement, okay? If that's a 17 neck measurement, there's rings on the neck seal itself. It's going to be really hard to see, but there are rings on here. You'd actually count those rings. So I'd count down from the top. Okay. So that's actually from the bottom. So I'd count from, and then at the 6th ring is where I would make the cut. If that was silicone, if it was latex, I would cut this at 3. One of the things I do is I never cut it exactly on that line the first shot. I will actually trim it a little short and then work my way down. How tight you have this is, again, personal preference. Being on the slightly snugger side underwater, you should feel less of that pressure than you do on the surface. When you're cutting it with the scissors, I use a fabric scissors that you can buy at any of the different, I guess, sewing stores like Michael's, Joann Fabrics, or any of those hobby stores. When you buy these scissors, in my case, they only cut wrist seals. I don't use them for anything else. If you use this to open up a package and you get glue on the blade, that blade will be no longer sharp and it will actually snag when you're cutting your seals. So how do you cut these? A lot of times if it's a wrist seal, I will just go in, I will just pinch it from the side and I will just cut my half moon shape in a slightly curved pattern and make my cut. Once I do that, because I'm doing approximate, as you can see, this was kind of pinched, kind of short, I would go in now, lower this down. I would go in and trim this so it's a nice smooth line. The trick is to make this nice and smooth. So I did something on purpose here so you can see it. This is a little exaggerated. If you're cutting your seal and you leave it with jagged edges like this, this is a point that's a weak point. This is an area that will cause future rips. So this is where you'd actually want to take your time, go back in. So you can see you'd start making a nice clean cut, making that nice and smooth. So make sure you remove those little notches, especially on the silicone seals. The silicone seals that will create an automatic tear in the future. You just pull too hard and it becomes a weak or a stress point. Okay, any questions with any of that stuff so far? Yeah. And the link for the Drysuit or the zip seal manual is up on the screen in the chat area. Okay, so that covers our how-to. So now let's get on to some of the DUI programs that we've have for 2022. We have some existing ones that a lot of the dive instructors or dive professionals are familiar with. So we do have the DUI Key Person Program, and that is for active dive professionals. And just to clarify that, I'll go back in this a little more detail. It's for someone that's working as an active dive instructor or dive master. And there's some instances where that covers dive shop employees and some other different professional areas, but it's generally someone that's going to be in front of other divers all the time. I'll go into detail on that in a second. And then we added 3 new programs, our discount programs, and those are for professional first responders. And then there's a program for active and retired US military, and then institutional. And we'll go into those now. So going back to the DUI Active Professional, I'm not going to sit here and read this whole thing, but the general idea is that we want to put the Drysuit in front of students, other divers. And if you're an active dive professional, we know that you did a lot of work to get, your training costs a lot of money to start doing that. You're in front of all these students. We want to help you represent, quality, dive gear, and that would be the DUI Drysuits and OMS products. So there you can get key person discounts on that. So as you can see, some of that can include store owners, employees, published media, public attraction employees, like people that, I'd love to see SeaWorld using all our Drysuits. That would be awesome. If you're in the industry, we also offer this to people who are in the dive industry, and also sometimes boats. Not everybody in a boat will be, I guess, qualified for that, but there are some instances where we've had that as people qualify for that. So the DUI discount programs for the professional first responders, there are some requirements for that. We do offer this to professional first responders. This is not someone that's in a volunteer capacity. It's someone that's, this is their day in, day out type of job. And that would include, peace officers, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, people in that industry. And there's an announcement about something for this area coming up later on in this presentation. There's also the active and retired U.S. military. You can, if you're active duty or you're reserve or, a veteran, you just, I guess, show that proof, and then you can get a discount. Just know that we don't double up the discount. So if you're already a key person, you don't get the military discount on top of that, et cetera. I know one of my friends right now is thinking exactly that. So no, it doesn't quite work that way. And then the institutional, that would be some of the universities, aquariums, these and some nonprofits. This process is a little bit more rigorous as far as like, do you qualify for this or not? It's just not, I started this, dive club, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get a discount. Okay, but we're looking at, it's something that we'd work together with the account managers to get you set up for that. Then the big question is, how do I apply for these programs? So there's a web page now on the Dive DUI website. If you go there, it has all this information, and it also has links to the different key person applications. Not all of them are fully available. I'm still working on the military one, but there's an application for the dive professionals, and there's one for the first responders. And there will be soon a form for the military. So once you sign up for these, you also, by the way, get the DUI email newsletters for those particular areas. Now, the one way that I said is to sign up for these, but the real way we want you to work this is we really want you to work with your local dive shop. That's a DUI dealer. So if you're an instructor for one of our DUI dealer dive shops, we want you to go directly to your dive shop and work with the owner or the store manager to get your discount, work with the shop. The only time you'd then come back to us is if you're not affiliated with a DUI dive shop, like you're an independent, then you'd still fill out this online application, and then we'd work with you direct. But again, I really want to point out, we want you to work with the dive shops. So, and as far as like the military and the first responder program, you'll have to ask the dive shop if they're participating in that program. We hopefully are not, hopefully everyone is, and they will then extend that same discount to you right on the spot. You don't have to deal with us, okay? Well, we want you to deal with us, but I'm saying you can take some steps out of the process by working with your local dive shop. Okay. One of the things I said we're coming up with is this is also in conjunction with the FDIC show coming up in April in Indiana. That's the, I should have remembered this, fire department. Anyways, I know Tor's beating me up right now because we went over this the other day, but I can't think of it right now. But anyways, it's a show for public safety and first responders. We are starting another raffle drawing, just like the one that we did with the DUI professionals. So if you are a professional first responder, I invite you all to join in this raffle also. So if you're not a winner on the dive professional one, you may have another chance in this first responder, but be aware that you do have to meet the first responder requirements to win with this. And the drawing is going to be hopefully hosted or done sometime in May, or maybe the June timeframe. So that's our estimated. One entry per person. I just want to remind people that you'll get emails eventually, and you probably only want to get one email. Anyways, that's just me. Okay. Any other questions before I move into this? Okay, wait, I got some here. Are the undergarments neutrally buoyant? Sorry. So there's a question about the undergarments. I don't know if I could. I don't think they're. I don't know. Undergarments. It depends on how much air is in the suit. So I'm going to open this up so everyone can chat and ask questions. I'm going to put my headphones on. And there we go. Okay, so right now everyone's allowed to unmute themselves. So if they have any questions on anything before we get into this whole raffle thing, so go ahead and ask them. It'd be awesome. And by the way, thanks for everyone for coming out for this today. I just didn't want to run way long. I know I went kind of fast on some of the stuff, but I know it's, you know, everyone's taking their time out and they want to get to this raffle part.
Hey, Jack, I think you did a great job. Thank you. I'm wondering if that question about the undergarments buoyancy had to do with someone who's looking at a thinner undergarment to go under a wetsuit. I know I've seen some videos where people were talking about the buoyancy of the thermal layer underneath the wetsuit.
Oh, kind of like the, yeah, well, I mean, the material's fleece. So fleece in general will keep you warm. Once it's in the water, and it becomes water saturated and there's no air in it, I don't think it would be necessarily too negative. I mean, I don't think it'd be either. I would probably push it into a tub of water first to see what it does. It's probably going to be slightly positive, is my guess. But that's an interesting thought, because I know a lot of people wear lava core underneath their wetsuits. Some of the people still wear those same lava core garments underneath their dry suit, because it is that fleece material that will keep you warm even when it's wet. Thanks, that was good input. Thank you, FDIC. Fire, yeah. Okay, oh, so someone needs to look up FDIC for me. But yeah, it's we're going to participate. We haven't been part of that show for several years now. Part of it has to do with some of the COVID stuff and some of the travel. But yeah, we're going to be participating in that. We'll have a booth. We'll be doing some key person suits at that show for hopefully different fire departments and stuff like that. And hopefully getting a lot of people signed up for this raffle. The new products are going to be available in that late March, early April timeframe, approximately. Right now, with anything that we have delivered to us, we always are a little skeptical, because shipping on large orders are always questionable. Yeah, I knew this question was going to come up about volunteers. At this point in time, the main decision was for the question was about volunteer dive teams being part of first responders. The question or the answer for that is, one, work with the dive shop. If the dive shop wants to extend that to you, that was always a possibility because the dive shop can work with you direct and give you that discount. But this was more of from a DUI standpoint. If a dive, like a firefighter in the San Diego came to us and said, I want to buy a Drysuit, but I'm not affiliated with any dive shop. And I'm actually like, I shouldn't say San Diego because we have dive shops everywhere here. I should say somewhere where there's no dive shops like within 3-4 hours away, and they want to order a Drysuit, we would work with them to get them a discount on their first responder because they're a firefighter or a police officer. And it's easier for us to track down or have that proof that they are in that versus a volunteer. So the volunteers, we say, please go to your dive shop and work with your dive shop on that one. And then it'd be up to the dive shop to pass that on to them. Thank you, Jorge. Fire Department Instructor Conference. One of these days I should remember it. Too many, worked in the computer industry too long. Everything's acronyms everywhere. Okay. Any other questions, or should we get on with this? So some of the rules here for this raffle, I'm going to draw 5 names. And the reason for this is the little asterisk on here is the winner must meet the DUI professional requirements. As I was going through some of these entries, not everybody would possibly qualify for this. So if that happens, I need to have some backup, I guess, backup winners. So there's going to be 5 drawings total. The first 4 are the backup in the order of which they appear. So the first name would the first 4 names get a t-shirt. The 5th name drawn is the winner. So then we go, if that 5th name happens to not qualify in the end, once we go through this process, it'll go back to the 4th number, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. So I just want to make sure I explain all that rules to everybody so they understand how this works. And again, 1 entry per person. We had some people put in a bunch before I forgot to put in their 1 entry per person on the form, but it's okay. Computers can sort things out. Okay, so with that, let's switch over to this picker wheel. Oh, what? Hang on. Don't make me reload all this again. Trying to do this without putting too many ads up on the screen for you guys. So if you guys aren't familiar, this is pickerwheel.com. So it's not some, I know there's, if you've watched the Dive Right and Scuba show, they do some of this with the picker wheel. Usually if you have 20 or 30 people, you can actually see everybody's names. But when you have, more than 1,000 plus some names, it turns into this very abstract, cool design with little different moire effects and stuff like that. So if we're okay, we're ready to go. I just wanted to explain this so we get these going. And so this would be one of the first runner-ups. And I'm going to go ahead and click. Those are supposed to be little clicking noises, by the way, but there's so many names that just. Oh, so Cho Jung-hwan is our first runner-up from Korea. By the way, I should mention that the Key Person program used to be just North America only. It's now opened up worldwide. It does help if you, because we don't speak all the languages at our office. So, so if you are ordering a key person suit and you're in Korea, for example, it helps if you have some English. Anyways, it is worldwide now for the key person program. I think I forgot to mention that before, but it is open to everyone around the world because we understand there aren't a lot of DUI dive shops in, New Zealand, for example, but you want to dive a DUI Drysuit, it's open for you guys to order one now as a key person. Okay, so that's runner-up number 1. Runner-up number 2, go ahead and hit spin. I think I'm going to turn off, no, I'll leave the sound on. This actually worked pretty cool when I was doing it with just a few names, because it would sit there and go really slow at the end. But with so many names, it just kind of loses its effect. So here we have Joel Silverstein from Scuba Training and Technology in Lake Havasu, Arizona. So free t-shirt so far. Second runner-up. Is Joel here? So I had a question earlier, by the way. Do I have to be present online to win? And I thought about that. That would be great because, wouldn't be great. I'd be spinning all day long because there's so many names. But then, just as a FYI, I put my name in here because I am technically a dive professional, and I thought it'd be kind of funny if I won. So obviously I wouldn't claim it, but I think it'd be funny if I won. So Mark Rand from Sierra Diving Center in Reno, Nevada is our third runner-up for that t-shirt. And this is for the fourth runner-up. So this is a good spot to be in, by the way, if you don't win the actual suit. So Kevin Winters from Divers Realm. I have no idea where that is. Means less information was given. But there is a request here to turn the sound off. So let's see where that is. Sorry, you have to experience some of the ads here now. Okay, so now for the winner of the Drysuit, this is the big one here. Oh, it still has sound. Did I not hit save? So Daryl Adams from Airhog Scuba in, what's it, Angier, North Carolina. They're the winners of the Drysuit. So congratulations. So again, just to recoup, we have the names are listed here. The 4 will get t-shirts, and then as long as Daryl qualifies for this, he will get a TLS 350 in the stock sizing. So that's awesome. So any questions? You guys can unmute yourself at any time here. Sorry about the sound, by the way. No questions. So we'll get in contact with everybody. And then don't forget to sign up for the next raffle if you are one of the first responders. So thanks for coming out. Look for us next month. Our guest speaker will be announced coming up pretty soon. Otherwise, we got some other things coming up, like the preparation and what the logistics go into one of the attempts at the longest underwater dive, stuff like that coming up in the future. So be sure to check back with us. And also we have, I'm going to share the screen again. And don't forget, you can contact us at any time at any of these areas, at the website, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the YouTube channel. We're trying to fill up the YouTube channel with a lot of content as far as like how-to videos, and crazy as it seems, but found a bunch of old videos that DUI had just lying around offline and started posting those. So thanks for coming out, everybody. And thanks for participating today. That was great. Thanks.